twice Kyle Busch had Indy 500 deals fall through. My post-Kansas power rankings are all jumbled up. And hey now, Harrison Burton, you're an all-star. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Kyle Busch appeared alongside Denny Hamlin on Hamlin's Actions Detrimental podcast this week. Great listen. We will react to some of the most interesting comments in a few moments, but let's start with some news today. Welcome back, Harrison Burton. He will run the Cup Series All-Star race this Sunday night at North Wilkesboro for Rick Ware Racing. A win-win situation for Burton and RWR. For Burton, he gets to return to the NASCAR Cup Series, the brightest stage. And for RWR, they get to make their first ever All-Star Race main event appearance. Harrison Burton won the Summer Daytona race last year, so he is automatically qualified for this year's All-Star event. Rick Ware said in a statement, quote, "Being a part of the NASCAR All-Star race for the first time is a milestone moment for our organization. It's an honor to have a place in the main event, and we're just as proud to provide Harrison the opportunity to compete in the All-Star race. He definitely earned his spot and he deserves to be here. It's a big opportunity for both of us." Let's give Harrison Burton his flowers. He has done an excellent job in the Xfinity Series this season. 6 top 10 finishes. He's 10th in points. And remember, this AM Racing team was close to last in driver points this time last year. So Harrison is doing a really good job this season. We know his Cup Series tenure did not work out. Burton was young, green, inexperienced. Then eventually they paired him up with Jeremy Bullins, and that combination just could not find consistent speed. We're seeing this year at RFK Racing, Bullins and Brad Keselowski are now struggling. I still think when you consider how young Harrison Burton is, the potential talent that's there, I still believe he could have a long, solid NASCAR career. Is he ever going to be a superstar? No, probably not. But he comes from a good racing family. I think he has a very strong reputation. I look at someone like Ty Dillon, who had some success in the lower ranks, made it to the Cup Series, not a great situation, not great results, was out of the sport briefly, then racing part-time. But he stuck it out, he's maintained his industry connections, he's grinded it out, and now he's full-time in the Cup Series again. I think having a solid year for Kaulig, all things considered. And Ty Dillon is now 33 years old. Harrison, again, is 24. It may not have worked out with the Wood Brothers / Team Penske, but he's only 24 years old. I don't think he's reached his ceiling. I hope Harrison has a good run, All-Star Weekend, Rick Ware Racing. That's a cool story, well deserved. Let's talk Kyle Busch. The 2-time Cup Series champion was on Denny Hamlin's Actions Detrimental podcast. Lots of good stuff in here, especially I think in the second half of the episode, which I'll link down in the description for you to check out. It felt like they got more comfortable with each other as the show went on, and by the end, it was like we, the audience, were a fly in the wall during a Monday morning meeting. Or maybe this is what drivers talk to each other about during the drivers' meeting on Sundays. It was interesting to hear Busch and Hamlin rehash old on-track moments, compare career goals, stuff like that. Kyle Busch did say that he wants to race at least 5 more years. He wants to hit 70 career Cup wins. Right now, Kyle is at 63. That's good for 9th most all time. Next on the list is Dale Earnhardt Sr. at 76. Kyle admitted that it may be difficult to get to 76, but 70 is a solid goal he hopes to reach. Kyle also discussed some of the next steps for his son Brexton and his racing career. Brexton's about to turn 10 years old. Kyle Busch talked about getting him in a Legends car soon, eventually late models, then supers, keeping him on dirt and asphalt, creating a versatile race car driver. Kyle said he wants Brexton to keep things fresh, moving from discipline to discipline so that he doesn't develop bad habits. All very interesting stuff. Again, I will put a link to the full show down in the description below for you to check out. I encourage you to do so, but perhaps the most interesting part of their conversation was when Kyle Busch talked about failed Indy 500 efforts. Kyle said that running the Indianapolis 500 is up there with winning the Daytona 500 as far as things he still wants to accomplish. And he said that a couple of years ago, he had a deal with Aero McLaren signed, sealed, and delivered, but then there was a snag as far as what the sponsor was going to pay for, and he says Kyle Larson and Hendrick swooped in and took the deal, inked it for 2 years. So all of this Kyle Larson Indianapolis 500 fanfare was this close to actually being Kyle Busch. That is pretty crazy. The other missed opportunity Kyle refers to was back in 2017, back when Kyle Busch was still at Joe Gibbs Racing during his 5 straight championship 4 streak, right in between his 2 championship winning seasons, peak prime Kyle Busch. He said on this podcast today that a deal to run the Indianapolis 500 was done. Quote, Chevrolet was okay with it, Toyota was okay with it, M&M's was gonna pay for it.
Guess who said no?
Joe Gibbs. Yeah.
Yep.
Coach Gibbs would not allow it. Man, not only were we robbed of getting to see peak Kyle Busch attempt the Indianapolis 500, we were also robbed of getting to see an M&M's IndyCar livery. This isn't shocking. It's been rumored for years, but I think this is the first time Kyle has just come out and said it. Joe Gibbs has always been strict about what he allows his Star Cup Series drivers to participate in outside of the NASCAR Cup Series. It wasn't until the past few months that he finally lifted the dirt racing ban on most of his drivers. I think he was facing some pressure from his grandson, Ty Gibbs. Briscoe, Bell obviously have dirt racing backgrounds. We've seen Christopher Bell the past few months run a bunch of dirt races. Shoot, the weekend of Texas Motor Speedway, he participated in a couple different sprint car events. But that's all very new. Joe Gibbs, for many years, was more strict. And it all comes down to money, I believe. Go back to 2017. Joe Gibbs was paying top dollar for Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, and Kyle Busch. They were being paid like superstars. And granted, for the most part, they had big sponsors that could help finance those contracts. But still, Joe Gibbs had millions of dollars invested in his star race car drivers. Compare that to today, 2025. Denny Hamlin, still a star, getting paid big money. But Ty Gibbs is cheap. Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, they're not getting paid anywhere close to what prime Kyle Busch was likely getting paid in 2017. Even Matt Kenseth or Carl Edwards the years before that. I mean, remember, part of the reason they didn't renew Kenseth's contract post-2017 was because Eric Jones, waiting in the wings, was a lot cheaper. So nowadays, when there's less money invested, quite literally the stakes are lower, the drivers are more free to participate in extracurriculars. It all comes down to money. Look, I'm disappointed to learn that Joe Gibbs nixed a Kyle Busch Indy 500 effort, but I kind of get it. Look at it from Joe Gibbs' perspective. If he had said yes, suddenly M&M's would be giving millions of dollars to another organization, another manufacturer in another racing series, and God forbid Kyle Busch gets injured, he would be forced to miss time in NASCAR. Joe Gibbs would be the guy getting screwed. Suddenly his star driver is out. That hurts them in the points, hurts their championship efforts, and potentially hurts their relationship with other sponsors who expects Kyle to be in the car. It sucks, but I can't say I blame the guy. Compare that to Kyle Larson's current Indianapolis 500 effort. Hendrick Motorsports is supporting the whole deal. Rick Hendrick's car dealership empire is all over this partnership. Larson and Hendrick are doing both races together. It doesn't sound like Gibbs would have had much of anything to do with Busch's Indy 500 run all those years ago. So, I mean, that's the difference. It all comes down to money, risk versus reward. It sucks, but I kind of get it when I look at it from Joe Gibbs' perspective. I am glad Coach Gibbs has softened his stance on other extracurriculars. Seeing Christopher Bell go wheel to wheel with Larson in Tulsa earlier this offseason was epic. Blast from the past, great content for race fans. I'm glad Gibbs has softened his stance, and I think he has because there's less money on the line. The drivers aren't getting paid what they were 10 years ago. Quite literally, the financial stakes are lower now, not nothing, but lower now than they were in 2017. So anyway, those comments from Kyle Busch were quite interesting. Again, encourage you to check out the full episode of Actions Detrimental. Link is down in the description. But before you click away, let's talk power rankings post-Kansas. Every week, I rank the top 10 fastest all-around, best-performing teams in the NASCAR Cup Series. Let's see if your favorite driver made the cut. Before we get started, I want to say that I feel great about my 1 through 5. It's my 6 through 10, really like 6 through 15, That feels kind of like a toss-up. But let's start with an honorable mention. Ross Chastain has been in my top 10 the past few weeks, but I mentioned last week how important the Kansas weekend was. He was fast in both races last year. He won the fall race, was second place at Texas, but unfortunately, Ross was nowhere to be seen this weekend. Despite finally getting a good qualifying draw, he still qualified terrible. Ran 20th all day. Now, before all you Ross fans say that I'm picking on him, go back and watch my video from last Thursday or Friday, I think. Trackhouse is not giving Ross or his teammates much to work with right now. Top 10, number 10. Chris Buescher has been really fast the past 2 weeks. He had a top 5 car at Texas, but ran over debris, punctured a tire. But they kept the speed up at Kansas, qualified on the front row, finished 8th. All 3 RFK Racing Fords showed speed. I know the 6 pushed it too far and it bit them, but Buescher and Preece ran and finished inside the top 10. That is a great sign. Now we head to North Wilkesboro, where Chris Buescher finished 3rd 1 year ago. Chris Buescher at 10. At number 9, Alex Bowman is back in the top 10 after, I think, spending 1 week on the outside. Kansas was his first top 5 finish in 7 races. But it wasn't the first time Alex Bowman has shown top 5 speed since then. He had mechanical issues at Bristol. At Texas, he was doomed by issues on pit road. Even at Kansas, he got walled on a restart, suffered minor damage, and still finished 5th. Hendrick Motorsports is firing on all cylinders. Alex Bowman said post-race, these might be the best cars he's ever gotten in his career. I tend to believe him. Ton of speed, 9th on the board for Alex Bowman. Tyler Reddick comes in at number 8. His last few finishes are not great. 18th, 14th, 21st, 17th. He was fast at Texas, sure, spun out, but I haven't really noticed him anywhere else. He has earned the 7th most stage points this year and has 0 DNFs. That's why he's holding on to 6th in the regular season standings. But I don't see tremendous speed or swagger out of this team right now. All of 2311 Racing struggled at Kansas this past weekend, and that used to be their playground. Their best finishing car last week was Corey Heim in 13th. Tyler Reddick at 8. At number 7, okay, Chase Elliott, I see you. The pit crew helped get him the lead at Kansas. Unfortunately, they also cost him at the end, but the speed the number 9 showed this weekend was extremely encouraging. Qualified top 10, led 29 laps, earned 18 stage points. This was his best race since Bowman Gray. Even Kyle Larson, the eventual race winner, admitted over the radio at one point that he thought Elliott was a little better. They don't have that bad pit stop. Chase Elliott likely goes to victory lane, in my opinion. Tremendous speed. Didn't expect that from this team at an intermediate. Chase Elliott moves up a couple spots into the 7th position. Number 6, I'm moving Joey Logano up as well. Look, if we pretend he didn't get disqualified at Talladega, his last 3 finishes are 5th, 1st, 9th. Joey Logano starting to warm up just in time for summer, and looking ahead to North Wilkesboro, he's the defending all-star race winner. Dominated this race 1 year ago. We know how good Team Penske can be at the short, flat tracks. They've also shown decent speed at the intermediates recently. Joey Logano up to number 6. Again, 6 on back, all very close, very jumbled up. These next 5 I feel very good about. Number 5, I have Denny Hamlin. Back-to-back mechanical issues suck, no doubt. Blown engine at Texas, transmission failure, I believe, at Kansas. That's brutal. But remember, before those mechanical gremlins, he had finishes of 5th, 1st, 2nd, 4 weeks in a row. Denny Hamlin consistently has top 5 speed. Get past these mechanical issues, and this is a team that's sure to go on a good run this summer. Dropping to number 4 this week is William Byron. Finished 13th at Texas, was 24th at Kansas after a blown tire early trapped him a lap down. Over the past couple of weeks, his massive points lead has evaporated. He's still holding on to 2nd, but keep in mind, Byron has not won a race since the season opening Daytona 500. I still believe in William Byron, think he's a legit championship threat at this point in the season, but these next 3 guys have shown me just a little bit more the past few weeks, beginning with Christopher Bell, who obviously has 3 wins on the season, tied for the most in the series. Bell has 5 top 10 finishes. the last 6 weeks. Now, he's not leading a ton of laps. I don't think this team has winning speed consistently at this moment, but they aren't taking themselves out. They're continuing to get very good finishes, earn some stage points. Bell has moved up to 3rd in the regular season standings. I've got him 3rd in my power rankings. Top 2, Ryan Blaney. 4 top 5s the past 5 races. I know he's still looking for his first win, but all of his teammates have wins. It's coming for Ryan Blaney. What's shocking about Blaney, though, is that he's up to 5th in the points despite 4 DNFs. He has crashed out of or blown motors in a third of the races this season, but because he's earned so many stage points, finished top 5 almost every other week, he's still in contention for the regular season championship. That shows you how much incredible speed this number 12 car has. Top 5 at Texas, Ryan Blaney at 2. But at number 1, the obvious choice, Kyle Larson. Tied for the most wins, by far the most stage points, most stage wins this season, most laps led. There's nothing else to say. He's also a North Wilkesboro winner, so looking good this coming weekend. There's my top 10. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my rankings. All-Star Weekend coming up could shake things up a bit. I'm really looking forward to the Coca-Cola 600 in 2 weeks. That will be very interesting. That'll do it for this episode, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR news, rumors, content, commentary, and so much more every single week. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters as always. I will see you again very soon. Thanks again for watching, y'all. Have a great rest of your afternoon.